Greetings, hello ladies and gentlemen, and I've kind of been neglecting casual SpinoDino lately, and I kind of want to just turn it into a series where I talk about what I feel like talking about casually. So, I thought, Eofauna has been on my mind all this past week, and this is a good opportunity just to jump on and just sort of record some thoughts that are going through my head, and see what you guys think about the future of Eofauna. So, ever since I got their Triceratops about a month or so ago, the dominant variant, review is up on the channel by the way, I'll put it up in a little card if you missed it. I've really been eager to know what the future of the company is going to be like, because I know Eofauna only made the single Triceratops, well, the two color variants of the same sculpt, just because of everything that was going on in the world at the time, and we definitely saw other companies suffer as well with figure count or figure quality, etc. But prior to the release of the Triceratops, we saw a very fruitful year for Eofauna back in 2019. We saw the release of their Giganotosaurus early in the year, which brought a ton of attention to the company as a whole, being their first dinosaur and a big name theropod at that. Prior to the release of the Giga, they only had the Paleoluxedon and the Steppe Mammoth, which were two highly praised figures in the community, but unfortunately, prehistoric mammals just don't do as well in the collecting community. There is a niche for them, and I'm someone who really likes collecting prehistoric mammal figures when there's good ones that cross my path, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't prefer collecting dinosaurs and prehistoric reptiles over prehistoric mammals as a whole. That just comes down to my personal preference. Overall, I'm just a dinosaur guy, but I also love my prehistoric mammals. They're just not my priority when it comes to collecting. And I will say that it was sort of Eofauna that tore that barrier down for me of intentionally collecting prehistoric mammals. It was their Paleoluxedon and Dinotherium that I really willingly got in comparison to some other dinosaur figures at the time, which was sort of out of character for me, because like I said, while I still respected prehistoric mammal figures and I loved them as animals, I just liked collecting dinosaurs and prehistoric reptiles better. But anyway, sort of getting off track here. 2019 they released the Giganotosaurus, which really brought a ton of attention to them. And then later in the year, we saw a double release with the Dinotherium and the Atlosaurus. And the Atlosaurus is what really just sent shockwaves across the community. The Giga more so in comparison to the initial reaction. But when people started to get it in hand, there was that initial hype, but then I sort of noticed things started to cool down. Because as much as I love the Giga personally, I still have problems with it. The detail doesn't look as crisp as Eofauna's latest dinosaurs, and the paint is not the best. Plus it has the stability issues pretty consistently. I mean, mine can't stand on its own without a little bit of Sculpey clay under its toe on my shelf. But the Atlosaurus was the opposite. People saw the initial promo images of that thing, myself included, and were kind of like, that looks proportionally weird. Like, what is this thing? This doesn't look like any sauropod that we've seen before. You sure you got this right, Eofauna? But that was the real lesson, that we should just trust Eofauna, because if you guys didn't know, they actually build their figures by constructing the musculature and the skin and everything around digital reconstructions of the skeleton, like in a program, which is really cool. So you're getting like 99% accuracy most of the time when it comes to these figures, which is amazing. But I think what was so jarring in the community with the Atlosaurus at first was that no one really ever heard of that sauropod before, myself included, and just seeing how unique and different it was kind of jarring. But once you actually look into the skeletal material we have for it and the reasoning for the reconstruction that they did, it's like perfect. It's literally a near perfect sauropod figure, which is incredible. And that's why for me, like off the top of my head right now, 2019's figure of the year is without question the Eofauna Atlosaurus. Like, that thing is incredible. I love it to pieces. So after their first theropod and sauropod snuck into their range amongst the other three proboscideans that they had, and Dinotherium was also a great addition because that's a more well-known prehistoric mammal. But anyway, after those two dinosaurs kind of just snuck into the company, you noticed a huge following kind of just coming out of the woodwork for Eofauna, because they're like, hey, these dinosaurs are really cool, we want more of this. And of course, because of everything that happened in 2020, I'm sure they were planning another multiple release for that year, but production for the figures probably just slowed down, and also just the design process, like everything slowed down that year. It was crazy, and it's totally understanding why you should just drop making dinosaur figures. Like, you don't need dinosaur figures to survive. Like, take as long as you need. You also don't want them to be rushed or have poor production quality, especially with Eofauna's incredible track record. But at the end of the year, they announced their Triceratops, and it was coming out in an awesome pairing, which is really cool. And not only were they just offering two different color schemes that could easily be seen as like a male and female coloration, but they actually complemented each other. Like, the same sculpt in the same pose could lock horns with each other, which is the coolest thing. It seems like every new release they have, there's something new that just blows my mind. Like, the Step Mammoth was awesome. It was just like one of the best, if not the best, mammoth figure that's out on the market. And then you have the Paleoluxedon, which is basically taking like a normal looking elephant and just making it like the best thing ever. And then the Giganotosaurus, their first theropod that they pretty much knock out of the park. Then you have Dinotherium, which is like the definitive figure for that genus. The Atlosaurus, which is like the best sauropod figure on the market. Then this Triceratops, which, the Triceratops, it can be argued there are some other really good ones out there. Plus it's Triceratops SP, the Yoshi's trike, which is a different species, which was a great choice on their part as well to do something totally different than like T. horridus or T. prorsus or whatever. But I can't see how some people wouldn't see that as like the definitive trike figure, just because there's so many, and you have Beast of the Mesozoic and other companies as well that have made great Triceratops horridus figurines. But at least for me, the dominant trike from Eofauna is like my favorite Triceratops figure of all time right now. I love that thing so much. But the figure itself was pretty much what I expected from Eofauna, but just the fact they added a new layer on top of it, that two of the same figure could complement each other in an amazing action pose where they locked horns with each other. It's just ridiculously cool, and it's getting me really excited to see what they have planned for the future. And this sort of gets into my predictions / wishes as to what I want to see them do. I was talking with my friends pretty recently, and we were talking about if Eofauna made a Tyrannosaurus Rex, because they pretty much nail it, and it would be like the definitive T-Rex figure. And what if they made it so it complemented the Yoshi's trike that they made? That way you could have the trike posed with another trike, you could have it posed with the T-Rex. I think that would be awesome, so you could swap it out for different diorama scenes or whatever on the shelf. A T-Rex is also a great attention getter. It's going to be a big money maker. I mean, just seeing how well their Giganotosaurus did, just imagine them making a T-Rex, like, that's a no-brainer. But I also am noticing a pattern here, like we're sort of broken even. We have 3 proboscideans and we have 3 dinosaurs. And for the dinosaurs, we have a theropod, a sauropod, and a ceratopsian. So are we just going to kind of get one figure from each major group? If that's the trend they're going with, then maybe we'll get an ornithopod next. Maybe we'll get a thyreophorian. But if I got to pick a dinosaur to do next, I'm going to go with another theropod, just because as much as I love the Giganotosaurus, it is my least favorite Eofauna figure that I own. Like I said, the detail, the paint, the stability, there are issues with it, even though that thing is just a gorgeous representation of the genus. But anyway, theropods, what would I like to see next? Now, T-Rex would be cool, but if I've got to pick a theropod that I think is kind of underrepresented in figure form, as far as I personally feel how it should be represented, is Deinonychus. We do have some good figures of it out there, don't get me wrong. The Collecte Deluxe one is like the only big one, but I have my issues with the proportioning and the way they did the wings on it is really wonky, but I love the colors on that one. But then there's some other ones out there that are also really good, and some of them that are like design-wise better than Collectes, but they're on the smaller side. I mean, Deinonychus was huge, absolutely massive. I mean, I saw its arms alone at the American Museum of Natural History last year, and the arms alone were just completely mind-boggling to me. But anyway, Deinonychus has to be like my #1 pick if I had to pick a figure for them to make next. And they have a design for that one on the cover of their Theropod Facts and Figures book. And it looks really cool. It's got like this tannish white color with a red head. I love it. I could totally see them making that into a figure, and I would just flip. Their Carnotaurus is also awesome on the cover of that book. The coloration on that is just absolute fire. I'm like in love with the coloration on that thing. But I do have to say, I think I'm solid on Carnotaurus right now. I want to get PNSOs because that one looks really photogenic and cool. I have the Collecte one. I think the community is pretty solid on Carnotaurus right now, and I honestly hope if they do something next, it's something that really needs like a good figure, like Deinonychus, like I said, like a definitive, really good figure. But another thing I would love to see is a feathered Dromeosaur. And also I forgot to mention, like, if they do a Deinonychus or Dromeosaur even, it would be our first time seeing them tackle feathers on an animal, which I'm really down to see. I mean, they've been nailing their scalation detail with their past couple releases on their dinosaurs, so I can really see them doing feathers just as good. But anyway, back to the Dromeosaur thing. I think like a Utah raptor would be really cool, or even like this Dromeosaur, I forget what species it is, that's on the cover of their Theropod Fact and Figures book. I love that one with kind of the iridescent blue on its head, the black and the white banding on the tail. Very similar to like a magpie or a crow. Now you're probably wondering why I'm not asking them for a Spinosaurus, and honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with the Spinosaurus figures I have at the moment. I'm just kind of sad I don't have a big, like, definitive one that's up to date. But here's the thing, every time Eofauna makes a figure, it's pretty much a definitive reconstruction for that animal, like, for the extended foreseeable future. And with Spinosaurus, like, changing every 2 weeks at this point, I really don't want them to make a figure of it, because they take so much time and put so much effort into researching these animals so they could properly reconstruct them. Spinosaurus is just gonna change like a week after they make a figure of it. Even though I'm so tempted to say I want it because the design and coloration they have for it is just so awesome in their Theropod book. I've just gotta say, let's wait for that complete Spinosaurus skeleton to be found somewhere in Africa, and then Eofauna tackle it for me, and I will be your first customer. Man, I have more to talk about on this subject than I thought about. Anyway, over to the Proboscidean side of things, I'd like to see them do more prehistoric mammals, and they actually have a 3D render of a Moeritherium on their website, which looks pretty cool. They could potentially turn that into a figure at some point, but it kind of looks like it's in a swimming pose, so I don't know if that was intended to be a figure at some point. But one thing that my friend Aiden brought to my attention the other day is that they actually just recently uploaded a Juvenile Mastodon render that they've made that looks like it could potentially be a figure. Like, the detailing on it and the pose and everything pretty much looks like it's on par with the Paleoluxedon here as far as the quality, so that could be the next figure. Here's the thing, like, I'm excited for whatever Eofauna does next, because no matter what they do, I'm gonna be happy with it, because it's pretty much gonna be like the definitive figure for that genus or whatever. So if they make a Juvenile Mastodon, then cool, it'll be a definitive Juvenile Mastodon if any of you guys wanted that. But at the same time, if they do another Proboscidean, I almost feel like it needs to be something more unique visually. If I got to pick another prehistoric elephant for them to do, I would do something like Ambulodon, Gomphotherium, Platybelodon, you know, one of those shovel-mouthed dudes that would be really unique. Or one that I've actually grown quite fond of is Stegotetrabelodon, with the double pair of tusks on the upper and lower jaw. That'd be pretty cool if they posed it with like its head thrown back and its trunk curled up and its mouth wide open, showcasing those tusks. But honestly, yeah, like, what do you guys want to see from them next? I'm curious as to what your wish lists are, so leave a comment down below and let me know. But I've been talking for a long time now, guys, so I think I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to this point in the video, I hope you have enjoyed. Eofauna, if you're watching for whatever reason, keep up the amazing work. Can't wait to see what you do next. If that Juvenile Mastodon becomes a thing, I'm gonna get it. Still need to get your step mammoth though, and probably gonna end up getting the cryptic Triceratops as well, so I can lock horns with the dominant one on my shelf. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all in my next video, so take care, and bye-bye.